Hey folks, Rachana Ranade here, and I welcome you all to a very interesting podcast. Today I have with me Matt, who has served the British Army for more than 12 years, and then he started his own company, which is called as Poseidon. We're going to learn a lot of things in today's video, but I'm sure first things first, you might want to know a little bit more on Matt and his company. So let me just welcome Matt to our amazing podcast for the day. Uh, Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hey, Miss Rachana, how are you?
I'm
Very,
doing well.
very well, very well. Thank you for your time and thank you, listeners, for listening.
So, Matt, which part of the world are you in right now? I know you travel a lot.
Traveling a lot at the moment. I'm currently in UK, flying back to Dubai tomorrow. So
Oh,
I'm permanently based in Dubai at the moment, but just dealing with the UK offices over the last week.
superb. So, Matt, from British Army to starting your own company, I'm sure many people would want to know a little bit more about what Poseidon is all about, and then maybe we talk about that bridge about how you switched your because an army person getting into real estate, I'm sure many people will have question marks. How did that happen? So if you can just tell me a little bit about your company first, our viewers would want to know about that, and then that small bridge.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Poseidon Group's a group of companies. We mainly focused on property from the very beginning. This is because the historic investment that we made into Croatia, because of where I was placed in the British Army in Bosnia originally, we took advantage of the contacts, the communications, and the other opportunities that there were on the coast at the time. As you're probably aware, amazing coastal developments, tourism, not much different to Dubai, but a different strategic place in terms of investments. We actually developed our own construction and development arm in Croatia itself, but the company's grown, the family office has grown, its assets have grown, the sectors have grown, and specifically over the past 4 years, we made substantial investments into the Dubai residential real estate sector. We were focusing mainly on the properties, obviously with high capital growth potential and steady rental income.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, as a group, what we wanted to do was maximize returns for our own funds, but we also invest on behalf of institutional and private partners, and that's creating success for all of our stakeholders. Because of this, we introduced and incorporated our own real estate agency in Dubai, which is called Poseidon Real Estate,
Okay.
shortened to PRE. Now, that granted us full control over the property transaction process. It was necessary because of the volumes of transactions that we were going through, what we were doing, and how we wanted to grow the business in Dubai itself. I think in terms of the real estate business, which is what we're talking about now, what makes us different? Well, the hands-on approach. Okay, I insist throughout all of our companies and specifically in Dubai that it's got to be client first. Always client first. Okay, we go on way beyond just offering properties. We're deeply involved in every step of the investment journey, from the initial consultation to the long-term asset management. I think one of the key differentiators for us is the comprehensive market knowledge, and we'll speak more about that.
Sure.
I'm sure as we talk more. We
Absolutely.
don't just rely on generic market trends. We have access to real-time data. This
Wow.
enables to provide data-driven insights, ensure that investors are well informed on their decisions. And that's the journey we want to take our investors on and with. What else should I mention at this
So
stage? Oh,
So,
sorry,
so a
Mr.
quick down. So,
Yeah.
Poseidon is like an investment company, right? Where you maybe you initially started managing your own funds, like you said, like family office, and then you had more investors who came on board for whom you managed their money. You are not a construction company, right?
No, we're not a construction company. Of course, we manage a lot of funds, and we have a lot of global partners that are institutional, European funds, American funds. They've invested with us. Other family offices, high net worth individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We're now investing on behalf of individual clients. And because of that, because we've opened up, and because of the Dubai real estate and the fact that we have our license, we are not a broker. We can offer the same advice
Yeah.
to our high end clients, high net worth individuals, to individual clients. And we combine that with transparent advice on the agency and the brokerage side. You know, Poseidon at a glance, we've got 23 global offices. We've got 1.4 billion USD property book value. We operate in 10 countries. We've got 50 plus institutional investment partners. But we offer investment advice alongside the brokerage. But we don't charge for the investment advice, which is fantastic.
That's the
So
best
the
part.
investment advice, working with the investors, whether it be somebody who wants to invest a million AED or 100 million AED, the service is transparent end to end, and it's the same. And we're delighted with this to be able to make that difference. And I must stress that is the difference. Yes, we're investment advisors with our own brokerage agency arm.
Amazing. So just to wrap up, you are going to advise people on which could be a good real estate investment in Dubai, which can generate good returns for them. But like you pointed out, because that's very important, you would not charge for just giving the advice. Only if the transaction goes through, then only you are going to charge them. Am I right?
100%. Exactly that. We operate with transparency, and the data that we use, the advice that we give is what we want to give to all of our clients. And I think it's essential, especially in this market at the moment, that advice is out there, that people are well informed, and only then should people be making the correct decision through the agency and brokerage arm of Poseidon.
Amazing. But from army to real estate, how was that bridge built?
Well, simple, stupid in the first instance, and I'll explain that we were working in Bosnia. So Bosnia, during the conflict, under the Dayton Agreement, they split Bosnia into the north, the Republic of Srpska, and the Foundation in the south. And there was a lot of displaced people.
Oh.
And I think it was on my fourth tour, we were actually asked to look at effectively repatriating the people that had been displaced in the war. So to enable us to do that as officers, we had to look into what they call the cadastre, which is the land registry. So we actually became sort of pseudo lawyers as army officers, and understanding the complexity of the land registry that was very old, everything passed down through inheritance and split between generations. We became the authority for land collection within the area, and that gave me a huge advantage to be able to put together parcels of land, to understand the legals behind it. So I left the army and managed to put together these land parcels and then create the development on top of that. So per se, it was a very odd journey, which most people wouldn't have taken, but it was hugely advantageous for me at the time.
Amazing, amazing. So I think that is where your interest was found initially about the whole real estate thing.
Yeah, the real estate thing. I mean, as I said, it's a family office. I work with my brother, and obviously we've got a very large supporting staff with an excellent board. But the real estate, because it naturally led to the areas I wanted to work, it was a natural skill that I had. I do feel that, you know, it's quite a unique training in terms of the army, and the real estate side of it was opportunity based, but it was working within the region and within an area that I wanted to concentrate on. So, yeah, I mean, it does sound quite peculiar. It's a different journey.
True.
It's not one that most army officers leave and do. Most go into more logistical jobs or security jobs, and we do have logistic security arms within our company group. But the mainstay and the start of it was all to do with real estate. So it was the opportunity, and then using the skills. We do rely heavily on a lot of ex-military because of the skills that they have within the group itself, within multiple companies. So it's been very exciting. I also like working with veterans, veterans of the army. I have a large number of Indian veterans that we work with. We work with the Gurkhas from Nepal still. So on and so forth, because there is a different element that the army brings, and it's a different type of education, more what I call a sort of operational and communicative education, if that makes sense, rather than the more formal route that most people would go through. But I think the translation of those skills is something that most armies are trying to achieve, because I think we do owe our servicemen for the time that they put in. And America does it very well. They have great programs for transition from the army into the civilian life. I think
Oh,
it's something that the British Army is still trying to work towards. But
interesting.
luckily, I found the transition quite easy, and I've been utilizing all the skills of everybody from the sort of senior warrant officers all the way up to the officers to actually create opportunities, and it has been successful.
Amazing. Now, talking about opportunities, you have talked about three, four countries, I guess, where you have set up something related to real estate. One country which is talked about a lot when it comes to real estate is Dubai. So I should not say a
Yes.
country because it's UAE, but one of the
Yeah.
Emirates is Dubai. Uh, I mean, especially in India, there's a lot of talk about real estate in Dubai. So could you just throw some light on how is the overall, or I can say overview on Dubai real estate market?
To take a step back, and I'll come on to it later on, I'm sure that we'll talk about it. We were operating in the Middle East through various other sectors within the company group and other companies that we manage within the group itself. And Dubai presented a natural sort of progression to bolt on to the property services and investment arm within Poseidon Group itself. I realized during COVID, where there was a complete price adjustment in terms of where the real price points were, there was a lot of speculation, I think, globally about where property would go. But I had real faith in the Middle East.
Mhm,
I think strong governance, excellent leadership, huge vision through the various plans throughout the UAE,
mhm,
the transparency of transactions that I'm sure we'll talk about. And I was convinced that there'll be a strong kickback after COVID and that
mhm,
we'd see the prices come back up. Just looking at even the 2008 prices, and we haven't quite got to 2008 yet, but you compare it to Tokyo, London, Paris, with everything that's going on, with the vision of the leaders, I was convinced that there was going to be a continued sustained growth rather than this up and down that we've seen previously. And I looked at that through an eye of governance, through vision, through infrastructure plans. So, as a family office, we set up the family office arm in Dubai about 5 years ago. Um, I think since COVID, prices from, let's call it, the bottom end have risen up to 75% to date. Year on year, prices are still going 24% year on year. I think in the last 12 months, that's probably accurate. I think villas is across the board at about 28%, apartments at about 19%. Um, why Dubai as well? You've got to look at the macro, the tax efficiency of returns, the fact that there's no property tax, income tax, capital gains tax.
mhm.
It's unique.
Yeah.
The high rental yields that you can actually achieve,
Mhm,
the golden visa residency, and other different residencies that you can actually obtain, even if you don't hit the golden visa benchmark.
mhm,
I think for India, you know, UAE is a home from home for the Indians, as we know. I think approximately 4.4 million Indians in the UAE,
big number.
38 to 39% of the overall population. The proximity to India, the sort of social political environment, the infrastructure, and the transparency and the legal framework provided by Dubai Land Department has been very encouraging for
Mhm,
the Indian investor. I mean, I even saw the other day, and I haven't followed it, these plans to build, is it from Mumbai through to Dubai, some sort of tunnel. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. I
yeah.
mean, it's extraordinary. So, just to surmise, with the Indian population, with my background and love of India, with identifying this as the new market, really analysing the market itself, and I'll come on to how we analyse that, I think, later on. It just presented a unique opportunity, and luckily, not luckily, I mean, it's calculated. It's like any investment. Everything's going according to plan with the way that we strategically approach our investments into Dubai.
Amazing. You talked about the CAGR, which was around 24, 25% growth for the last 4, 5 years. But whenever investors hear such numbers, they always have that FOMO. FOMO is like fear of missing out. That maybe I've already missed the bus and the real estate rally, whatever had to happen, has already happened. Is that the case, or do you feel for the next 5 years also the growth could continue in real estate in Dubai?
I think it's a very, very interesting question, and this is something that you've got to be very careful about. When I speak to investors, I talk about the gold rush in America. People running over, how many people actually found gold in the river eventually? You know what I mean? There has been serious increases. I think it was Finch said that there'd be a moderate correction within Dubai real estate of 10 to 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think is necessary in certain areas.
Oh,
okay, so let's break it back.
sure.
It's all to do with location, 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 and data for me.
Mm.
Dubai is a big place. UAE is a big place. Overall, over the next 5 years, I think all areas will see serious increases because, like I said previously, when you compare it to Tokyo, Paris, London, Sydney, etc., we are price per square foot, even on the coast, even what I call the overpriced areas where capital appreciation will see adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that everywhere has appreciated at the same rate.
True.
And there is still growth in a large number of areas.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an idea. There's a tsunami of apartments at the moment. Okay, I think 77% of residential units in 2025 were apartments. People do worry about apartments and oversupply, but what they don't see is that in certain areas there's not enough apartments.
True.
So a lot of the apartments, a lot of the studios are all being built downtown, in the creek, in these other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Houses are a lot rarer. So your townhouses and villas are a lot rarer, but in certain areas, the prices are inflated. So how do we look at this and how do you identify and make sure that you don't miss the boat? We have to look at location, location, location. We have to look at data. And this is something that DLD, the Dubai Land Department, publishes once a day. Every single transaction in Dubai and the UAE is publicized once a day, whether it be a rental or a sale. So I can show you any apartment block in Dubai, whether it's off plan, not even built, already built, what has this been sold for? What capital appreciation has been realized historically? What rental yields are being achieved? By using data, we're turning this into a science. It's the same as what we spoke about previously. We are actually commercial property. Commercial property is a science. You buy a piece of land, you bring your tenants in, you understand from the tenants what they're going to pay in advance, what your rental yields are going to be. So you're actually mathematically working towards a formula. By having this data from DLD, utilizing residential data, looking at past performance, current performance, we can actually target areas which haven't realized potential growth, where there will be capital appreciation. So yes, a lot of areas oversupply, a lot of areas not going to achieve capital growth. Some areas there will be a downturn of 10 to 15%, but the areas that we identify are done through science and data. And that's what we work with our investors, whether it be people buying a single unit, multiple units, a portfolio, or the fund that we're introducing. And that's what's most important.
Super. I actually had 2 points that I took from your entire answer right now. Number one, you said that it could be something like an off plan, or it could be something like a secondary house that you would want to buy. So which one could be more lucrative? Could it be off plan, or it could be secondary? It could be a ready possession. In India, there is also something like distressed assets that we can buy at a way cheaper price. Does that also exist in Dubai? So which out of these four could be beneficial as a person to buy, to invest in? And second question that I had is, you mentioned about certain areas which you feel are overdone and certain areas where you feel that the growth potential still very much exists. So if you could also mention the area names, just for the benefit of our viewers as well.
Yeah. Let me answer the second question first, if that makes sense.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Look, we'll get on to, and we can talk about rental yields, which is something I like to touch on with you. I'll answer generally about areas. Within areas such as the Palm, you're only going to achieve rental yields of 1.2% possibly. In other areas such as Sport City, you can get 6 to 9%. Okay? We've spoken about the price adjustment. I think when we come to areas, we have to understand that even within areas, there's going to be opportunities. There's different developers. There's different opportunities, even within buildings. And you touched on distressed. You might have a distressed deal, which I'll explain, and how that works, where there is an opportunity. So it's a case-by-case basis. In terms of where to look in terms of areas, it depends on budget. It depends on whether somebody's looking for capital appreciation or whether somebody's looking at rental yields and wants a blended yield of both capital appreciation and rental income. So it all depends on what somebody wants to invest into and what their investment appetite is. And that's something we work with our clients as part of the initial consultation. But just breaking it down, I mean, I think really looking at the pros and cons of the different opportunities. Of course, we've got off-plan. Hundreds and hundreds of off-plans being launched weekly. Different developers. I mean, my last count was there was 278 odd developers in Dubai itself. Now, there's off-plan and there's off-plan. We won't talk about specific schemes. We won't talk about specific developers. There's different payment plans for off-plan. It can vary from 20% down payment and 80% literally on handover. There's a certain scheme with a developer which is launching in the next 3 months, which is exceptional. And actually, it's in a very lucrative, good area in Sport City where there will be massive capital appreciation. However, some developers, we don't believe in, well, let me take a step back. 96% of off-plan we don't invest into. There's 5 or 6 off-plan developments that we've invested into over the last 3 months. How do we analyze that? We look at like for like. And what does that mean? If you're building, or we're looking at a building, there's going to be a comparable to something next door. And again, we go back to data. You're building a tower here. Let's look at the finish on that tower, and let's look at the tower next door. It's pretty simple, stupid for me. And I'm not an intelligent person, Ms. Rachana. I'm just looking at the data. So I'll give you an example. Down in Maritime City, there was a recent launch. Developers have to cover a huge amount of costs, which don't go into the actual building. It's in terms of these off-plan launches, you can calculate up to 30% of your money is going into commissions and marketing for the developer because it is so competitive out there. Whereas immediately in Maritime City on this new launch, we look next door, similar building, you can buy on the secondary market at 20% lower. Now, what's the difference between that? Secondary, you have to put all your cash in now. Off-plan is almost self-financing. So it depends again on what the profile of the investor is. What is his financial plan? What does he want to put in now? How do we look at the capital appreciation in terms of the off-plan primary, if that makes sense? Absolutely. When we're looking at off-plan primary, for me, it's all about infrastructure as well and the comparables, like I said. In terms of the secondary market, and I've sort of touched on that to date, we do look at the blend of yield and capital appreciation. We have assets, and don't get me wrong, not everything's been a win-win for us. We've learned. We've got assets where we've lost money. So we've learned from our mistakes. Don't get me wrong. We know the areas where we've lost money. We know the areas where we've made money. And yeah, luckily we've been successful overall and have a fantastic portfolio. But not everything's a winner, like I said previously. Again, understanding the data, looking at the looking at that data is exactly what one has to do. I think that brings us on to the next point, and people need to be really wary of this. We talk about distressed. Now, distressed for me, it's a very, very interesting market. I work with developers. One developer has over 20% of persons that have bought off plan in the last 3 years have missed 3 or more payments in the last 3 months.
Oh.
Why is this? I've got to say, I've never come across an Indian who has miscalculated in this way. Okay, so all due respect to yourselves, there's a huge amount of people that sold this dream. Okay, a lot of them don't understand the contracts they're signing. A lot of them have spoken to agents that said, put down your 20% and I'll sell it for you, sell it the next day. It doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
You need a strategic plan, and you've got to be able to afford your payment plans. Okay. True. At least up to construction. Okay. Whereas on construction, if you've got an 80-20, that 20%, you will be able to mortgage. If it's 70-30, you will be able to mortgage. So that financial planning is critical. But when you think about those numbers, 20% of people not being able to afford the payment plans. Why? I've spoken to lawyers. They don't understand the contracts they're signing. They're being told by unscrupulous agents, oh, we can do this. And that's not just third-party agents. It's the developers' agents as well. So we've invested heavily into distressed assets. And the distressed asset for me is not what someone tells you it's worth. It's what it's being sold for that day with the data that we utilize. So we look at that. When there is a distressed asset, we go in with a specialized team and we do negotiate 10 to 15, sometimes 20% below market value. And that's affordable. And that's something that we do work with investors with to see whether that's of interest. So there's a huge amount of that. You're absolutely correct. And I think that's what's mirroring in Mumbai at the moment. Is that correct? Is that what you were saying?
So, I mean, when it is about off-plan, my main concern, I'll tell you what happens in India quite a lot of time is that builders may promise that we will complete the entire construction by XYZ date, maybe 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later, whatever. And there's a huge difference between actually when does it completed versus when was it planned to be completed. And for that, we actually had a new law which came into place, which is called as RERA, which is Real Estate Regulation Act, wherein a lot of builders now are, required to comply with the date that they have promised for completion, so that those people who are investing in off-plan situations, they don't, lose a lot of money. So is there some equivalent in Dubai where the investors are,
100%. So we all know the horror stories of 2008 and pre-2008 when unscrupulous developers were just ditching keys, running off with money, taking money up front, not completing on performance hurdles, etc., etc. This is what I love about Dubai, not just real estate, but the authorities react so well to any problem and create laws to protect the investor. Simple, stupid, there's exactly the same. The Dubai Land Department has a real estate regulatory authority, RERA, which governs all investments. Now, off plan now, all monies invested on off plan go into an escrow account, which is controlled by the government. The government only release monies to the investor if performance hurdles are reached. So at the very least, that means that they have to release 30% of the money, have achieved 30% of the construction, which means that it is controlled. The investor's money is safe. And if a developer has problems, then RERA will take the development back and be able to pass it on to a separate developer to enable and finalize the completion. So there's complete protection for the investor. So that's the one thing, the escrow accounts, which is fantastic.
Super.
The other thing is that for off-plan registration and buyer protection, now all units off-plan are registered with DLD.
Mhm.
Okay, everything is registered. There's no private contracts. It's all a centralized system, and it's all transparent, which is fantastic. Even the service charge is controlled now through RERA. So you're not going to face in the future unscrupulous service charges being put on top of you, which is what we find in London on a
Oh,
lot of units.
okay.
You've got to be able to understand that and protect oneself. And they've seen that. So I think it's all to do with market transparency. And I think just some figures I read recently in terms of real estate investment. Dubai, of course, is number one in MENA for transparency on all of the market indices. So they've gone leaps and bounds to make sure none of that happens. With regard to completion timings, there has to be force majeure if there's going to be anything beyond 12 months. But it's in the interest of the developer, obviously, to hit their targets. Otherwise, there are penalties and they have to, and they can't release their money. So it's in everybody's favor now to work together, whether it be the government, the investor, or the developer. So I think it was a brilliant and necessary changes that were made. So yeah, fantastic that they did that, and it's increased investor confidence, of course.
But having said that, I mean, I totally appreciate the fact that a lot of things have been done to plug in the loopholes. But still, we say that lawbreakers are wiser than lawmakers, is what we say often. So I'm sure even till date there will be some agents who may still, want to defraud the investors. How does your company play a role in uh, finding investment areas where the frauds would be at the lowest? I mean, there'll be no frauds. Basically, can I rephrase it saying that how can your company help investors find trustworthy agents who can help them with good investments?
Well, let me take a step back. Give you some figures.
Mhm.
200,000 agents, they believe, are currently working in Dubai itself. With a population of just under 4 million,
Mhm. Okay.
one
Okay.
in one in 20 people.
Wow.
How many people are registered? 30,000 currently. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. So you have everybody should be registered, and this is something that DLD and RERA are looking into.
Mm-hmm.
These people and agents are completely unscrupulous. Now, at times, and the problem is that these agents aren't paid.
Mm.
Okay, they work on commission only. Most of them don't have visas. Most of them work on commission. They work through third parties. And that regulation is something that is being exploited, not by the government. The government has set down the laws to make sure that this is being stamped out and is regularly checked. Ourselves, because of these problems, as investors, started up our own brokerage company to make sure that we had correct representation, our own registered agents, agents that have healthcare, visas, are being paid a salary.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not being paid, and I don't blame the agents completely, I blame the employees.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in simple terms, they have to eat what they kill. And a lot of them
Correct.
have families they have to support.
Correct.
They're sold this dream.
Mm-hmm.
So that side of it, I find very unscrupulous. There's no transparency. It's got to be regulated, and you've got to be working with a registered agency and ask the broker that you are speaking to, does he have a license?
Correct.
Can I see the profile of the company that's representing them? Now,
Mm-hmm.
we're very different as Poseidon. I've already explained this. We're an investment company that started up a brokerage arm to make sure that we weren't going to be exploited and we didn't have these loopholes. That's why we got our license. It was to actually retain professionals that could advise us correctly in the market and do everything under our own license. So that enabled us to do the end-to-end investment and the brokerage within, in-house, if that makes sense. It meant that we could maximize returns for our own funds, for investors, for clients, whether they're buying one building They want a portfolio, or we're introducing a 100 million residential fund that will launch in September. It's all about creating mutual success for the stakeholders. Very simple. Whether somebody's buying something for a million AED or 100 million, it doesn't matter. They're treated the same way, with the same degree of transparency, care, and investment advisory, if that makes sense. And that's something that we wanted to extend. And I think it's something that other people do not have, because if you're not a broker and you're not looking at the sale, I've had a couple of clients recently that wanted to invest a lot of money, $7.5 million each, into 2 villas.
Whoa.
They came saying, I want to buy these 2.
Oh, they had the thing in their mind. They want to buy a specific.
They had the developer, they had the units, came to me because we work with them. They're part of our global group, working for one of our international investment funds. Mm-hmm. Do you know what? I personally, because it was a lot of money, went to see the developer, went to see the construction director of the developer, and I wasn't happy. I went back to them and I had to say, look, best will in the world, you're not going to get this delivered on time. This is going to be a building site within the area for the next 10 years. You're not going to get what you want, because you want it as an end user villa. It was a seafront development. And we had to go in with transparency, because there's no point. We're not after the sale. We're after a long-term relationship with all of our clients. Now, of course, huge amount of commission turned down, but those 2 are investing into our fund. So, you know, what goes around comes around. So we're very pleased about that. So I think that's an interesting story. It's not a story, just it's sort of an indication of how we work. It's that sort of hands-on, client-first approach, priding ourselves on the transparency of the process, you know, and the personalized service, if that makes sense. So, you know, rest assured, like I said, make sure, please, that everybody looks into data, make sure that they're dealing with people who are registered, and actually ask the questions, and don't believe everything that you're told.
Absolutely. Wow. Amazing stories. So like you pointed out right now, that for some it could be like $7.5 million $1,000 or $75,000 or whatever is the case. When it comes to investing in real estate in Dubai, a lot of people consider that as a gateway for golden visa in UAE. So can you tell us about the threshold can you tell us about the investment amount, which is like a threshold to get the golden visa? And if a person says that, okay, I don't want to invest that much money in UAE real estate right now, maybe a shade lower than that, is there any other visa type which comes up with the residency option with that visa?
Yeah, absolutely. The golden visa, as I think we've alluded to, we sort of do end-to-end services, and golden visas and different types of visas. One of our departments actually facilitates that, because we believe that it's something that, of course, if you just said, is of great interest. Mm-hmm. The golden visa itself is for 10 years. Yeah. It's valid for 10 years. The threshold is 2 million AED, mm-hmm. which is approximately 500,000 USD. Now, what does that actually mean? If you're buying on the secondary market, as in ready built, you have to spend that amount of money. So your property must be bought for that 2 million AED. However, if you're buying off plan, mm-hmm. your property only has to be worth 2 million.
Yeah.
So you can buy off plan. Let's say it's 20% on deposit, which is not so much.
Correct.
Work out and pay off over the lifetime of the payment plan, but you get your golden visa on day one. So that's a fantastic change, So that's an advantage of off plan if you want a golden visa. Now, what does golden visa give you? Full access to UAE banking. I've got to say, coming from the UK, having banked and having bank accounts in 28 different countries within the group, by far the best banking system for me, whether it be business or personal, is the UAE. Some fantastic banks. We have services, which is what I suppose Dubai prides itself on, the service sector, whether it be in hospitality or elsewhere, personal bankers, You can get in touch with them. You've got branches everywhere, and the banking is second to none. What's brilliant about this visa as well is that it allows dependents, spouses, children, I think parents as well, dependent on how many persons there are on each visa. And everybody in the family actually benefits from the same residency status. So golden visa, 10 years. Secondary, have to put down the full 2 million, but off plan, you can pay off or get your golden visa in advance of actually the completion of the payment plan. There are a couple of other options as well. There's a 2-year and a 5-year. The 2-year has a threshold of 750,000, and the 5-year is AED 1 million. So, there's different advantages to all of them. You do get spouses. Everybody will be able to bring their families in, and it's all to do with the threshold itself and how long you have that visa for. So there's different connotations, and that's something that we will advise on. And it's something, of course, that people are interested in.
Sounds very interesting. Let's presume that I just got a golden visa right now. And if I were to relocate to Dubai, I just can't even think about it right now, because I'll start thinking about my child's school. I'll start thinking about, of course, residency, maybe your company can take care of. You can help me with a good house. But then again, banking, schooling, so many things that come on top of my mind. Does your company help with such allied services as well, or is it only real estate?
No, we do. So even if you want to set up a company, we have a sister company that we work with, one of the biggest in the UAE, where we run all of our corporate services through. But in-house, as I've said, we do our own visas. Schools, we work with all the international schools. I don't know if you know, there's 80 schools in Dubai at the moment running the Indian curriculum.
Wow.
Okay, we work with all of them. It's CBSE and ICSE, isn't it?
Yeah,
80 schools at the moment offering that. So we work with all of those schools. And of course, that's a big advantage. We want people to have a seamless transition. So as you said, all the way through from the investment, the visas, the schooling, we can even help and organize any type of travel, movements, logistics as well. And we saw that as absolutely intricate to support the investment itself if people actually wanted to relocate. So it's an end-to-end product that we will be able to offer. And I thought that was important when we set out with our whole mission, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. Now, I mean, I have got so much information. I really need to just take it in me and maybe, just digest that. And then maybe I'm going to look at my own podcast 2-3 more times so that, I get to learn much, much more. Every single time I watch, I'm sure I'm going to get some additional piece of information as well. But just as a closing thought, if you would want to give 3 tips for any investor who would want to do successful investing in Dubai.
Am I allowed 3 short statements? Let me have a think about that. Okay. Number 1, work with trusted, licensed advisors. Number 2, always look at the data. The data is available, and ask for the data, which is central to everything that Poseidon does. Number 3, think with your head, not your heart. So those are my three little golden nuggets for you. And amazing. I think that surmised or summarizes how I'd be looking at it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Amazing. But I mean, even though I learned so much in today's podcast, just in case if I were to learn a little bit more on investing in Dubai, does your company website have few more resources through which I can go through few articles, maybe just check out few FAQs? If you could just help out with your website, maybe some social media handles through which I can learn.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, I think the best thing is we do have a large number of ebooks, a large number of podcasts that we can share to any investor. In first instance, if somebody wants to get in touch, they can get in touch via WhatsApp on 00971 52997 9055. That's 00971 52997 9055.
Okay.
Or email JMB, Juliet Mike Bravo, at Poseidon-GP.com. or Instagram, which is www.instagram.com/Poseidon_real_estate_INTL. And when you get in contact, we'll give you a specialized investment advisor who can talk you through the journey itself, give you data, explain to you how we work with you on the investment to see interest, to make sure that you are comfortable with what you're doing. And that is not chargeable. We're there to work with you to make sure that you're comfortable. And actually, Jamo Borthwick is the person who is dedicated to this. He's the primary investment advisor for the Indian market. We do have Indian speakers within the office. We employ over 40 Indians speakers at the moment. So whether it be language, whether it be communication, our specialist investment advisor will coordinate everything with people who are interested. I just will say, there's no obligation. Come forward to us. Let us help you just to make sure that you are actually working with the correct knowledge, with the data, and with transparency.
Amazing, amazing. Whatever details Matt just shared right now, I'm going to put all these key details in the pinned comment and in the description box so that it'll be easier for you all who are watching this podcast to navigate through the pages of Poseidon. And I'm sure you will get a lot of value through these. And like Matt said, if you just want to just even set up a call, discuss with them, with their team, and understand what all opportunities Dubai market presents, no rush. It's not mandatory that you have to buy after listening to them. You can at least get to know. I always say this: first, have complete knowledge, and if you feel you're convinced, then maybe you get to go one step ahead and take your final decision, right? So thanks a lot, Matt, for taking out time. And I wish you were in India. We would have done a face-to-face podcast maybe next time. Just let us know when you're here, planning to come here.
Well, Miss Rachana, we will, and hopefully we can keep doing podcasts together. And like I said, for all of your avid listeners, there are great opportunities out there. There's no obligations. Get in touch and let us work with you to realize the very best investments if they're of interest. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'll see you all in the next one. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You might have come across such advertisements on various social media platforms. Please note, all of these are fraudsters promising unbelievable returns through stock tips. I don't provide any calls or advisory services. I provide only educational content through my social media handles and through my website rachanaranade.com and rachanaranade.in.